actually your place to be here to learn and get trained how things work. And if there are participants who are applicants to foreign universities, I am here to introduce StudyWest. So, introducing myself first, I head the business operations and marketing for StudyWest. I have been here for the past 6 years, and we help recruit students, international students, as well as students from here in the Middle East, whosoever are interested in studying abroad. We have options where we will guide you and help you through the entire learning process till you reach there and go to your respective desired campuses. Just a little bit about us, purpose. It's to provide free independent services and support to international students who are applying to study in the UK and the West. When I talk about West, we have partnerships in Canada, we have options in US as well as in Australia. What are the services that we offer? It's a guidance through each step of the application process to any of the UK universities. We will help you choose the best college. As counselors, we will also help you to identify the course that best fits your profile and get you trained through the consultants who are from the trusted university partners. We offer absolute free consultation to help you. There are no charges, there are no hidden costs. Once a student is here with an application willing to study in the abroad, we give free consultation charges. Our main goal is to set international students have the right path towards studying in the West. Why choose us and not somebody else? We are the UK universities which we have consistently ranked among the best in the world. We have international recognized qualifications starting from foundation courses to undergraduate courses to master's courses. We have all of them. Even for postgrad students who would like to do their PhD and DBA, we have all the options available. You can go to the university and you can study. We have access to the world leading resources, facilities and experts. When you talk about world leading resources, we have libraries, we have plethora of campuses, we are located with university, we are associated with University of the West of Scotland, we have University of Strathclyde, we have associations with De Montfort University here in the Middle East, as well as Heritport in Dubai also. The main advantage of studying here is you can work part-time during your studies, as well as you get your post-study work visa for master students for the next 2 years. Why do you want to go to UK and study? Basically, it's enjoying a great lifestyle experience. You thrive and welcome students. You meet nationalities from different countries. We do accept candidates who have IELTS, and those who do not have IELTS, we will help you get trained through all the English recommendation letters. As well, there are other processes like Duolingo, and we have CET, we have OCE. You can get all your English letters certified. You can get your English scores ranked there. We have a wide range of courses available, as I mentioned. Spot application and assessment submissions, we will request certain set of documents, 8 mandatory documents that we need. And once we get all your documents, which are okay to go ahead with, we shall submit and get you a offer letter. It's a professional way where we apply your visa, which is on priority basis as well as on the regular norms. We shall do everything free of cost as we have agreed. Why study abroad? As I have always given you options, this is a better opportunity that you get. You have a better understanding of culture and business. You expand your network, you grow your network, you gain essential skills, you boost your employability, you change the way you look forward, and you develop your language skills. This is all about StudyWest. We are here to take down all your questions once the webinar is over. If any of the participants who are interested to know more about us, my colleagues are here to give you information with the email ID that you can write us to. You can even WhatsApp us with all your details and we will get back to you. I'm here to introduce now Dr. Kirti, who's our speaker of the day, One second. She is one of the versatile professional with over 20 years of diverse teaching, research, and academic leadership experience in higher education. She has handled positions of leadership and responsibility. She has managed culturally diverse team and delivered results. She is one of the best faculty members that we have as of now, and we are happy to welcome her for today's webinar. Over to you, Kirti ma'am. You can begin.
Sure. Thank you so much, Raiza, for that wonderful introduction. Really kind of you. A very warm welcome to everybody. I see that you guys have joined us from different parts of the world. So I don't know whether to say good morning or good evening, but just welcome. It is a lovely Friday morning here. I'm in Toronto. And it's such a wonderful opportunity to connect with people who want to learn and pursue their studies and career opportunities internationally. So thank you so much. So if Raiza, this is okay, then I will probably share my screen and we'll get started.
Yes, please go ahead, Kirti ma'am.
All right, guys. So let's dive into today's session for which you guys have signed up, writing an effective statement of purpose. And I'm doing this session for Study West. I've been associated with Study West for quite some time now. Now I know the people. They're wonderful people, really good at their job. And it's lovely being associated with them. It's lovely being able to do this session for them. So let's get rolling. Let me just give you a sort of brief description of my background. It's always good to know who the speaker is and in what capacity are they qualified to be able to talk to you about a certain topic. So to me, if I were to summarize, it's been over 20 years of experience working in the higher education industry. I've lived and worked in different countries, and I think that gives me a very interesting perspective on international students, people who aspire to pursue opportunities, whether it be in terms of their education or careers in another country. I understand the aspirations, I understand the struggles, and I also probably have discovered solutions to those. So we'll talk about it, today. Then because I've been fortunate to live and work in different countries, I have worked with renowned educational institutions in India, in Dubai, and in Canada right now. I'm based in Ontario. I live in Toronto, and I work with a very prestigious university here, Schulich School of Business, which is a business department of University of York. It is amongst the top ranked institutions world over. I also work with a very, very thriving community college ranked amongst the top 3 colleges in Canada. And in these institutions, I've really got an opportunity to interact with international students who come from world over wanting to pursue their education and career in Canada. So it sort of gives me a good exposure into what these students' aspirations are, what their challenges are, and what their pathway really entails. I hope to be able to capture that in my session today. And I set up my own company. It's an educational consultancy. It's called Pro Study. And under this umbrella, what I do is I just offer all sorts of educational consultancy to students who seek different solutions, whether be it in terms of, which colleges to apply and, what is the admission process, documentation process, what does it entail? How do I write my CV? How do I write my statement of purpose? How do I prepare for interview? So basically, I offer whatever I've learned over a period of 20 years. As far as my academic background is concerned, I'm a PhD in English. Some years later down the line, I also felt the need to pursue an education or a professional qualification in HR. So I completed my CIPD from UK. And when I moved to Canada, I also sort of pursued a degree in teaching English language to the speakers of, to non-native speakers of English. So that's sort of a summary of what I've been doing in the past 20 years. And I think in that context, if you have questions for me, things that you'd like to ask me more, I can help you with, please feel free to ask later, as Raiza said. So let's dive straight into today's session. I'll just give you sort of an overview of what's the plan. We'll keep it simple. We'll keep it straightforward. I plan to take you through, to begin with, of course, what is a statement of purpose? Why is it required? And a lot of time, students have questions about, is it mandatory? Is it not mandatory? If it's not mandatory, should I even do it? So we'll try and address those questions. And we will also go over different types of SOPs. There are different universities that have different requirements. And so I will, based on my experience, I will try to take you through different types of SOPs. And then we will get into the specifics of actually how to write it down. I will use examples alongside to make you tangibly see what I'm talking to you about. And in the somewhere in the middle point, I will have a small activity for you to do. So if you have a piece of paper or a pencil nearby, it'll be very useful, right? Because my intention is that after this session, at least you walk out of the session with having written 4 to 5 sentences and feeling confident about, yes, I can take it from there, right? And then I'll, wind it up with any, some important tips and any questions that you would have to ask me. Now, I hope you are able to hear me and my speed is okay. If you want me to change anything, please put your message in the chat box, and I think we'll take it from there. But currently, I will not look into the chat box. I will just, go with my slides. And when I ask you to do something, then that's the time I'm going to be looking at the chat box. But you please feel free to put your questions or responses in the chat box. All right. So you guys good? You're able to hear me? My speed is good. All good. Just show me a thumbs up and then we'll roll on from here. Thumbs up. We good? All right, I hope so that everything is fine. So let's move on. So what's a statement of purpose? I'm sure you're aware of it, but just to sort of put it in perspective and so that everyone's on the same page. This name comes up when we want to apply to graduate or undergraduate programs in different universities internationally. So typically an admission process, as you know, entails you to submit your transcripts, letters of recommendations, right? But in addition to these documents, you're also required to submit a statement of purpose. Now, you may think that why is this necessary? I mean, my transcripts already show my academic credentials. They already show that I've got a good CGPA, the subjects that I've studied, the scores that I've got in those subjects, so it sort of establishes my academic credentials. The letters of recommendations from my professors or, people with whom I've worked also sort of, demonstrate my skills and competencies and what these important people who've worked with me say about me. So then what really is the need for an SOP? Why is it that the university wants an additional essay for me to write? So what really an SOP does is transcripts certainly show your academic achievements. Letters of recommendations show other important people's perspective on who you are as a person. But an SOP actually showcases who you are as per your understanding. How do you visualize yourself? How much do you know yourself? How much do you talk? How much can you actually talk about yourself, right? It helps you stand out, right? It helps you sort of build a case as a suitable candidate seeking admission in a particular university or a particular program. So that's really because sometimes I know it's frustrating. We tend to think that I've given so many documents and still the university wants us to provide additional essay or a supplemental essay. What is it that I haven't told? This is exactly what universities like to see. They like to see how you talk about yourself. Do you know yourself? Are you aware of what have you been doing in the past? What do you want to do in the past? And how does this program sort of fit in? And that's what an SOP helps you explain. All right. So I hope I have contextualized, the need for why SOPs are required, right? Now, if I were to give you an analogy, think of it, like a cover letter. All of us know when we apply for jobs, in addition to the resume, which is like, the fact sheet, just like transcripts, we also submit a cover letter. And we always say that even if a cover letter is not mandatory, you should submit a cover letter because it helps you. That's like your elevator pitch. That's your sales pitch. That's the pitch that you're making to the recruiter who's reading so many applicants' applications. That's your chance to tell the recruiter, this is why I am qualified for the job, right? And so it's the same thing about SOP. Just like a sort of a cover letter, an SOP is like a cover letter that pitches you as a good fit for the program or the university that you're applying to in front of the admissions committee, right? Now, see what has happened, as Raisa was talking to you about, the trend, the cross-border mobility, the trend to study internationally has increased. So universities are also dealing with large volumes of applications, right? And these are competitive students. Most students have good grades. They meet the admission criteria. So then how do you sort of choose your pick? And that's where the SOP comes into picture. When the applicant pool becomes competitive, a strong SOP really sort of increases your chance or likelihood of being selected or offered an admission into the program. So yeah, I mean, if a candidate has written an SOP, at least I know, let's say I have 100 applicants, and out of 100 applicants, let's assume it was not mandatory. It was just sort of supplemental. But out of 100 people, if 20 candidates have actually written an SOP, I would actually think that these 20 candidates had more motivation than the rest of them to take time out, to sit down, to think about it, and write an SOP to say why they're interested or motivated in studying with us. And that sort of has already pitched you a level above the rest, right? So it is really important that if you're applying and, if there is a chance for you, even if it is non-mandatory, you should write and submit a statement of purpose. Now, when is it required? Of course, we know when is it required, whenever you're sort of starting to apply to various graduate or undergraduate programs in universities around the world, you will require a statement of purpose. And typically, majority universities, like UK, US, and Canada, they require applicants to write an SOP. And it is submitted alongside your transcripts and letters of recommendations and other documents. In Canada, I've also seen that sometimes SOPs are required as a part of immigration process, right? Just to show the immigration officer as to why do you want to come to this country and study here? What are the reasons? What are the motivations? Or future aspirations that you wish to apply for a student visa to Canada and pursue your education in this country, right? So however, we'll not touch upon the immigration part. We will stick with writing SOPs for university applications, right? All right, so I think I have already built a case for whether it is mandatory or optional, you should write it, but let's go over it. It's not always mandatory, right? And SOP is not always a mandatory part of the application process. Certain universities and programs will give you this as an option to write a supplementary essay or statement of purpose, which you can submit if you'd like, right? But as I said, don't think twice. If you're really motivated, you want to get into that university, it's really not mandatory for you. You should write it. Strongly recommend. However, some other programs have it as a mandatory requirement. I mean, you wouldn't be able to, your application wouldn't be complete without it. You'd not be able to proceed with submitting your application, right, without it. So yeah, it could be mandatory. Just to sort of set it right, it's not always mandatory, but it's always strongly recommended to write it. But sometimes it is mandatory and you wouldn't be able to move ahead with your application without completing it, right? Now, since we're talking of statement of purpose, and sometimes students don't really know that there are different types of SOPs that you could be required to write depending on which university you're applying, right? So let me sort of break it down for you. As far as I've understood, there are 3 types or categories of SOPs that universities would require you to write. Now, and I've also sort of put some example of, universities here in Canada and the good ones really, for you to understand if you'd like to go to their website and search up in detail to see what this type is. I have examples here, but, one category of SOPs that I have seen are kind of, questions that require you to write responses to. right? So these are prompts. You have prompt questions, and you would be required to choose. Maybe sometimes they give you 4 prompt questions or 3 prompt questions, and you would be required to pick up one prompt question that resonates, sort of best with you or most closely with you, and write a response to that particular question. Right now, these questions are accessible, available, publicly available on the university's website for anybody to access. So even if you're not applying, and even if you've not even started the application process with the university, you can still visit their website. You can still see what kind of these questions are. Now, University of Toronto here, they have something called One Idea Supplementary Application, right? So they give you a prompt, right, like an idea, and that sort of stimulates you to think about, okay, what do I want to respond to this sort of a prompt or an idea, right? And this ranges anywhere from writing, sometimes very concise pitches of 250 words up to a little more detailed, ranging up to 650. So it's very difficult to set sort of a word limit on SOPs, because they differ based on, the university and what type of SOP they want you to write. But it could be as short as 250 words, which is sort of a really concise sales pitch, to a little more descriptive ones, 650 to even 800 to 900, sometimes even 1,000 words, which means to say that they really want you to elaborate, delve deeper, provide more context, more detail. So we'll get into that, right? So the first type that I've seen is which require you to write written responses to sort of some prompts, right? University of Toronto calls it One Idea Supplementary Essay. Now, so yeah, just to sort of give, I wanted you to see what these prompt questions look like, right? So I've picked this up from UFT, as I said. So I'll read these out to you very quickly so that you see, and then probably I'll tell you what they are trying to get at when they want you to respond to such questions, right? So I'll read the first one out, which says, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please tell us how this influences your work, right? So if you see this prompt question, what do you think the admissions committee is trying to understand about you? Because see, what happens a lot of times in our CVs and our academic transcripts don't really capture who we are as a person and what kind of events have shaped us into becoming who we are, right? So they want you to write about it, because I say this all the time to my students that, you could have pursued similar programs. Let's say I have 10 applicants, who are all engineers. All of them they meet my CGPA requirement. They have good transcripts. They have everything that I want, for me to go through my checklist and say, yes, they meet my admissions criteria. But I want to know more about them as person to be able to differentiate who's going to be more sort of suitable to this program, and this program is really for the student based on what's been their background and who they are, and how that has shaped the way they work, or the way they visualize their future, right? So that makes you stand out, right? Then I can differentiate these 10 students with similar CGPAs and similar educational backgrounds when I read this, right? And that gives admission committee an understanding of, okay, out of these 10, I think these 4 candidates look like this program will be useful for them, and they will be able to add value, and vice versa. If I move on to read another prompt very quickly, another prompt is describe a topic, idea, a concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. A very interesting question. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more, right? So they, again, clearly this kind of a prompt question reflects that they want to know more about you as a person. What is it that is your passion, right? Because all of us have had those moments where we sit and do something that we are passionate about, and we lose sense of time, right? So they want to know more about it. Again, trying to understand who you are, what are your passions, what drives you. And then the third prompt question is reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? This is more sort of philosophical and about your morals, and how do you what kind of a person you are, trying to just understand what really makes, what was one thing that somebody did made you happy, trying to again understand you. but slightly differently than the first two prompts. And the last one is lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to shaping our outlook on future challenges. How will you use previous experiences to creatively reorient your approach to new problems, right? Now, I'm sure all of us have experienced that failure question in job interviews that, what was sort of, tell me of a time when you faced a challenge or an obstacle or you failed, and how did you overcome this, and how did it sort of help you grow and learn? This is a similar kind of thing. So they want to understand your tenacity to be able to face obstacles, and how do you react to challenges, what is it that you do, etc. So all these questions really are to make them understand the admissions committee, the admissions officer, more about you as a person, right? Which your transcripts don't essentially capture. All right. So these are sort of, I find prompt questions are easier because they give you a focal point to what to write about, right? And of course, they give you a choice, like you have 4, you pick up the one that sort of you feel more, that resonates best with you, and you think you'd be able to write something about it, right? So let's move on to category 2. So just to summarize, we were talking about one type of SOPs, which some universities require. These universities give you prompt questions, which are available or accessible for you to see even before you start applying with them. And you can choose a prompt question and you can respond to that prompt question, right? Now, UFT requires that as a part of its undergrad application as well. Now, let's move on to the second type that I have sort of seen. Is you are required to submit a written response, just like, in the previous instance, but here you will only be provided those prompt questions once your initial application is filled out and submitted. So you're unlike the previous instance, the questions would not be available for you to see beforehand. So once you've moved a step, sort of with your application, let's say they're filtered, application seems all right, then you get your logins, etc., and you get into the portal, and then they give you these questions to answer. Now, there's a very prestigious university here, McMaster, that has sort of the Department of Business is called DeGroote School of Business, and they also have a faculty of engineering. This university is an example of the kind that I'm talking about. They ask you to provide written responses to these prompt questions, but you will only be able to see the prompt questions after your application has been submitted, and they think that you meet all the criteria, and you sort of get into their portal, create an account, and then you will be able to see these questions, right? So until that, the prompt is unknown, but DeGroote, it's a mandatory written response. They really want you to complete it. Otherwise, your admission application would be incomplete. Now, the third category, which is sort of a really large category, many universities do this. They don't give you any prompts or questions to answer. They just want you to write an essay, right? So it's sort of an autobiographical sort of summary, you can say, about different things that you've done academically and, career-wise in your life. So just sort of an essay that summarizes who you are, and what have you been doing in terms of your studies and, internships, work, etc. Now, again, there is a very prestigious university here, and primarily known for its medical programs. It's called Western University, and this is an example of a university here that requires students to submit an autobiographical summary. That's what they call it, right? So they may call it whatever it is, but it's just an essay, right? So that's those are, and again, UFT, Rotman School of Business, of course, I'm sure it's world's top ranked business school. UFT also requires, candidates to write essays, but their requirement is sort of shorter. They want a very concise sort of pitch of about 250 words, right? So just to summarize what I've said, I was trying to explain 3 types or, broadly, SOPs vary from university to university, but as much as I have seen and I can analyze, they are of these 3 categories, where one category is prompt question, the other category is prompt question, but only accessible later. And the third category is just sort of freestyle essay that you are required to submit. All right. So let's move on and let's actually now get into how do you, so now we understand what is SOP and why is it so important for us to write and different types, etc. So how do you actually get down to writing it, right? So I think I'll go skip this slide because I have talked about the length, right? The essay format. But what is important in this slide is that the fact that your essay should be structured, right? That it should have an introductory paragraph. So if you were to visualize a template in your mind when you're writing an SOP, it should have an introductory paragraph, a very concise, well-written introductory paragraph. And then you have body paragraphs, right? And we'll talk about how many body paragraphs. And then you have a concluding paragraphs, right? So the whole essay should be structured as sort of neatly into different paragraphs, and each paragraph sort of focuses on one aspect of your background or personality, right? We will get into this. All right. So before I get into this, can I ask Frida or Clovius to please put the first poll. Let's see how many of our participants have actually written an SOP before. So yeah. So we have the poll for you to answer on the screen. If you could quickly respond. All right, cool. Thank you so much. It looks like we have a 10% response. All right. Clovis, would we be able to share the poll responses, or I can just sort of tell you what the response is. Majority of our participants have never written an SOP before. So I'm glad this session is going to be useful to you. And those of you who have a small percentage of our participants, about 32% of our participants have written an SOP before. Fantastic. You know what I'm talking about, the gruel and the grind that starts when you actually sit down to write it. I hope that I will be able to incorporate some tips today that would help you to be able to do this more efficiently when you want to write an SOP next time. All right. So can I have another poll as well? Clovis, I have the second poll. Could you please put up the second poll as well so that I... All right, so the second poll is there. I just want you to answer this question. Have you written an essay before? Forget about SOP, but have you written an essay before? All right, so we have all the responses, and the scenario is just the reverse. When we had this question of how many of you have written SOPs before, we had fewer people, who had written, but essays, we have almost 85% of the participants who've written an essay before. Now, good, why this is important. I wanted you to understand that, and I'm going to say something, listen to this carefully and make sure you understand that. Every statement of purpose is an essay. Every essay, however, is not a statement of purpose, you see? So if you have written an essay, you can write an SOP because it's nothing else but an essay. And this is an essay about yourself, right? So unlike other essays where you're writing about other things, other topics, here the subject is you yourself, right? So if you've written an essay, you know how to write an essay, you can write an SOP. All right, so that's the good news. So can we have the poll taken off the screen, please? Clovis, I can't seem to get this poll window off my screen. Can I get it? All right. All right, fantastic. So So yeah, with that understanding that if most of us know how to write essays, we can write SOPs. Of course, it's going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy, because I think, the most difficult thing in life is to be able to talk about yourself, right? We can talk about others, we can critique, we can give feedback, but when it comes to talking about ourselves, most of us find it challenging. So let's dive into, but we can do it, because, you've written essays, we can write about ourselves. Let's see, how do we get to doing this? So let's move on and let's talk about, since I told you that, you need to visualize a template, right? And in this template, there are paragraphs. And one of the paragraphs, a very important paragraph, is the introductory paragraph. It has to be written concisely and distinctly, right? So your first paragraph, which we call as an introductory paragraph, should very, very clearly introduce to the reader the context of your writing, right? Now, you know what a context is? The context is simply, why are you writing? Why should I, like, what does this essay contain? Why am I reading this? What is it about? So, provide a context to your SOP. And again, to break it down more specifically to you, state some things very clearly in the beginning, right? For example, write the name of the program that you're applying to. Yes, as simple as that. A lot of times what happens, we sit down to write this SOP and we're staring at a blank screen or a page. We don't know what to really sort of where to begin. So these are your tips. These are your pointers. All right. Please write down the name of the program that you're applying to in the introductory paragraph, right? Because the admissions officer will then know specifically which program are you interested and you have applied for, right? Because, they read so many of them. Then you sort of move on to giving sort of an overview of your academic background and any relevant experience that sort of, makes them understand that why are you applying to? So I know now that you're applying to Masters of Business Administration program in Rotman Business School. But then I want to know a little more about, why are you doing this? What are your reasons, right? And of course, the whole essay will develop those reasons, but to just give sort of a overview in the introductory paragraph, right? And try to write your introduction in a manner which is captivating. All right. So, and, just a tip, I think I should say it now. I will say this at the end again. Don't think you will be able to get a perfect draft in one sitting. It never happens. It never happens with the best writers, right? You will need to come back to this draft and edit it and redo it several times, right? So I think, the biggest writer's block is trying to get it to look perfect and read perfect in the first go. And when it doesn't happen, you feel frustrated, you give up, you think that I don't know what to do about it, right? So it's okay, take these as pointers, almost like formulaic approach, write whatever, leave it, come back to it, edit it. Don't try to think you'll be able to do it in one go. And that's the reason why you should start ahead of time, right? Not when you have to. You shouldn't be writing a night previous, to when you are supposed to submit your application, right? So let me sort of get into sharing some examples with you. So now I've told you what goes into the introductory paragraph. Let me show you some examples and read them out to you. And I've also sort of underlined few things which point back to my pointers in the previous slide, right? So I'll read these out to you. Simple, straightforward, setting the context for the reader to understand which program have you applied to. For example, I'm writing to express my strong interest in the master's program in computer science at XYZ University, right? So, just to highlight this, that you've stated clearly the name of the program, the university. And then, as I said, provide more context as to why are you interested, right? So, and then you'll build on this statement later in your consecutive paragraphs, right? So the first one reads as, with a deep passion for technology and a strong foundation in computer science, I am eager to further enhance my knowledge and skills in this dynamic field, right? So just a minute, let me just move the camera window a bit. Sorry about this. All right. So, and then if I were to just sort of simply read the third one to you, I've always had a passion for solving complex problems and a desire to contribute to technological advancements. I have a keen desire to pursue an undergraduate degree at XYZ University. I am captivated by the field and determined to acquire knowledge and skills necessary to become a successful engineer, right? So third one is sort of on the similar lines. I'm writing to express my strong interest in pursuing undergraduate degree in business at XYZ University with a passion for entrepreneurship and a drive to make positive impact in the business world. I'm eager to embark on a journey of academic growth and professional development in this field. Now, if you see some things about the introductory paragraph, it kind of gives you a formulaic approach, right? Begin by stating the name of the program, at the university that you want to, and in addition to it, provide a little more context as to why do you want to pursue this field of study, right? And it, even if it doesn't come to you now, you may think, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, great sentences, but how do I actually write it? When I sit to write it, I don't get these ideas and words. It's okay. It doesn't come in one go, right? It is a step-by-step process. First of all, just create an outline, just say introduction and have some bullet points there. In the bullet points, you will just put the name of the institution, the name of the program that you wish to pursue, and some other reasons that you have, that you think you're interested in engineering or business or medicine or whatever. Just put it as bullet points. Don't try to develop sentences with, very captivating words. It doesn't come in one go, right? So just use sort of a bullet point approach to generate ideas and leave those bullet points. And then you can elaborate those bullet points later into fully developed sentences and then connect sentences to one another, right? So step-by-step process so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And we'll do a little exercise. I don't know how much time we'll have, but I'll try to get you to do something along with me, right? So that's about the introductory paragraph. A lot of us get stuck because we don't know where to start, right? So you now know what to do, how to sort of visualize your introductory paragraph. Now getting to body paragraphs. Now, the first question is, how many body paragraphs should I have? I think 3 to 4 is an ideal number. Don't go beyond that. It becomes too overwhelming and too sort of I don't know, lengthy for the reader. Try to stick to, I love to have 3, but 3 to 4 is a good range, right? Now, what do you actually do in these body paragraphs? You further develop the claim that you had made in the introductory paragraph. You remember in the introductory paragraph, we had made a claim. The claim was, I have a deep passion for technology, strong foundation in computer, right? So now in the body paragraphs, we will have to sort of demonstrate, where is this passion for technology coming from? And why do you say that you have a strong foundation in computer science, right? So let's go further and see what more do we do here in body paragraphs, right? So you basically visualize these paragraphs with one focal point each, okay? One of the paragraphs, body paragraphs, should talk about academic background, all right? So academic background meaning summarize your whatever you've studied up to that point. So if you're applying, if you're a high school student applying to an undergraduate program, then you should provide some context of your high school studies. If you are a undergrad student who's applying to postgraduate program, then you should sort of talk about your undergrad studies, right, and things like that. If you're a student applying to doctoral program, then you will have to talk about your master's. So basically whatever is sort of relevant with respect to where you're applying, sort of one paragraph has to be about your academic background. Now, what within that also I will tell you, right? The other paragraph could be about relevant work or volunteer work, right? So if you've done full-time, part-time work, paid, unpaid work, or, if you've not done work, you've just done volunteer work, whatever it is, wherever you can talk about your experience of having gone out, worked with an organization, any kind of organization, profit, non-profit, whatever, try to sort of, talk about it. Of course, you will have to bring the relevance or the relationship of this with the program or the field of studies that you're applying for, right? Now, so as I said, these paragraphs should actually help you connect it back to why you're interested in this chosen field of study. So if you say engineering, or if you say management, or whatever it is, then, try to talk about and relate it back to, how this exposure or experience build your interest, towards that chosen field of study, right? So yeah, basically, then you move on to maybe just before your conclusion paragraph, you can have a short paragraph talking about the university and the program, right? Now, you remember when we write a cover letter, we always talk about why do we want to work with your company in this role, right? It's the similar approach. So you think about maybe talking a few things about the university that stood out to you, like why do you want to study at University of Toronto? Why do you want to study at University of McMaster, right? So demonstrate your understanding that I know what your university does, and I know what this program is about, and how it'll help me achieve my goals. And then you move on to the concluding paragraphs, right? So just for you to visualize this slide sort of summarizes what your body paragraphs should be about, with one focal point each, right? As I said, within the academic background, you should talk about relevant school subjects. Now, school could mean high school, it could mean undergraduate studies, right? So, whatever are the relevant subjects, let's say, machine learning, or I don't know, a calculus, or advanced functions of mathematics or economics, whatever it is that you think is out of the subjects that you've studied are relevant subjects to talk about, pull those out and put them in your outline, right? Remember, we are not as yet writing fully developed paragraphs. We are just trying to get an outline for our body paragraph about academic background. So I will bullet list the subjects that I think are relevant, for me to be talking about in my SOP in context of the university or chosen degree. Then I would also think about, few things that I'd like to call as my academic achievements. So for example, have I been given any awards? Did I sort of secure any scholarships, etc., right? Then you bullet list them as well. And then, again, towards the end of this little body paragraph, you would want to connect it back to your chosen field of study or interest. Always remember to contextualize everything for the, admissions officer, right? So we're not just talking about academic, these are the subjects I studied, and these are the projects that I did, or these are the scholarships, because you see, they are there in your transcripts as well. What you're doing here is you're telling a story. What you're doing is you're going beyond transcripts, and you're actually saying that how these subjects, when I studied, or actually made me interested to study this field even more, right? So that connecting it back is very important, right? So no paragraphs as yet. Just as we created an outline of bullet list for our introductory paragraph, we'll create an outline of our body paragraph with the focus of academics, and we will create these bullet lists that we want to include in this academic background paragraph. The next body paragraph could be about work or any kind of research or volunteering. Everybody has a different profile. So depending on what you think is, best for your profile, you will pull that out and you will put this in this paragraph. Now, in this paragraph, few pointers for you to think is, you can think about your professional experiences and of course, relating it back to the university and program. You can think even about your extracurriculars that you have done, right? Internships, paid, unpaid, doesn't matter, right? Don't think if it was not paid work, it was not worth it, or it is not worth it to talk about in SOP, because it is. Because whether you're paid for it or not, you are doing something and you are learning something in return. There's a skill that you're acquiring. If there's an interest that is developing or building, so focus on that, right? And emphasize on relevant skills and knowledge gained, right? So when we are talking about, I was working with a social media marketing agency, and while working with them, I was handling this project. Or now you want to relate it, what happened while doing that work that actually made you interested in studying more about a particular field, right? So I understood that I was really interested about the field of marketing and how it can help clients, whatever, right? Build it from there. Now, another important body paragraph that I want you to visualize is you have to talk about your career goals, right? So talk about your long-term and short-term academic goals and career goals, right? What is it that you want to do, and why do you want to do it? Where do you think it will lead you in the long term, right? And also try and explain how this particular program or university will help you achieve them, right? So so that will make the admissions officer understand that you know yourself well, you know what you want, and you also know our university and program well, and you know that how our university will help you achieve that, right? And for that, but yes, trust me, you will have to do some research. You will have to really read up about the university, and you will have to have your top reasons for applying to that particular university. If you've done that, then this will be easy, right? Discuss your areas of interest within that field of study that you'd like to pursue. That, I mean, like, yes, it's a growing field. Yes, there are many professional opportunities of growth, and, but what about interest? Focus a little bit on interest also. Like, there are many fields that are up and coming and have scope for professional growth, but I'm not pursuing everything, right? I'm only pursuing education. I've been teaching because that's what interests me. So, talk about a little bit more about how this is for you and why this interests you, and explain why you're passionate, what motivates you, right? So I hope you've been able to understand what the body paragraphs should look like, the 3 to 4 paragraphs that I talked about, the focus point of each of this paragraph. Start with academic, move on to work, research, volunteering, right? This could look different for different people. Then move on to talking about career goals, and just before concluding, try to integrate how the university sort of helps you in going where you want to go or reach academically or professionally. All right. So I have a little activity for you to do with me. I'm not sure if we have adequate time to do that, but I'd really want to do it. I'd probably go over the rest of the content faster, but I want you to do this with me very quickly. So if you can pull up a piece of paper or your laptop or wherever you would want to write, I want you to do this with me. All right. I want you to, and I've given you steps to do this, right? I want you to create bullet points. So let's say we are writing a paragraph on academic background, because that's common for everybody, right? Work experience may differ, career goals look different for different people, but all of us have an academic background that we should talk about in one of the body paragraphs. So I want you to pull up a piece of paper, and I want you to create, let's say, just, bullet points. And just write down 3 points that you think you should include in this paragraph that talks about your academic background, right? And once you have these bullets, then try to sort of develop these into full sentences, right? And once you have done those, when those bullets are now sort of expanded into complete sentences, now you try to connect these sentences with one another using the transition words, right? So I will give you some time to do that, maybe 5 minutes, and then you could probably, post your responses in the chat box. I could probably read out some of these, and we'll see how it looks, right? And if you have been able to do this, then, just like that, you have written a body paragraph for yourself. So I will just probably, I hope you're doing this with me. Let me look at the chat box. So guys, I'm just going to stop for about, wait for about 4 to 5 minutes. And I hope as I wait, you are actually doing this that I'm asking you to do in a step-by-step manner. And then I'd be very happy if you can put it in the chat box for me to see, and for the others to see what you have created, right? All right, cool. Thank you so much, Louis. I appreciate the response. So I'm just going to be quiet, let you get at it. All right, cool. Let's see what Shivam has for us. Thank you, Shivam. I really appreciate your writing and sharing it with us and within the provided time. All right, so let's say Shivam says, I completed my higher secondary education from St. Joseph's College in Nainital. I was appointed as college captain for the academic year 2022. Great. I come from humanities background and scored 99 in political science and 96 in history in boards. All right. I've been a part of various model United Nations conferences and served as Secretary General to prestigious conferences like, all right, so you have conferences names and won awards like Best Delegate and High Commendation. I aim to pursue my career in international relations. Great start, Shivam. Actually, well done for the 5 minutes and the prompts that I gave you. Excellent. Now, the only, so I'll give you a very quick feedback and move on, is the only thing that I want you to pay attention to, and this is not just for Shivam, this is for everybody. We're just using examples as learning for everybody, is that a couple of things you could do more right over here. And of course, this is the first draft. It can be improvised, but you're talking about, so ultimately, I think you're interested in international relations, right? And I see the fact that you have studying subjects like political science and scoring really high, political science and history, and you've been scoring really high. And the fact that you've been part of these, model MUNs or that has that exposed you to the arena of international relations, and it sort of made you interested in this field. So what I see good stuff here that should be talked about, but I also see your interest. Now I just want you to use some sentences to connect this together. So I want you to say, and kind of approach, if you have in mind, Shivam, that this led me to this, right? So right now you have X, you have Y, now you have to see how X actually led you to Y. So you just need a couple of connecting sentences and you're good to go, right? So great. And another thing very quickly, Shivam, is that when you make use of terms like boards, a lot of people internationally wouldn't know what boards are or board exams are. People in India would understand what board exams are, but then internationally people wouldn't know. So you'll have to sort of provide a context for them about what board exams are, right? And that's just it. Great work. You can really sort of take it from there. I aspire to write. I'm going to read the next one. Gunasilan. I hope I've got your name right. I aspire to write the statement of purpose to express my strong admiration towards research in English literature and pursuing it in your esteemed. Yeah, cool, fantastic, good work. This is an introductory paragraph, right? The content that you've got here is very good for the introductory paragraph. Good job, right? And I'll read, you have something further here as well. Yes, you have something for us for the body paragraph about academics as well. You're talking about you completed your BA in English literature and you're naming the institution, and then you're saying that you worked as assistant professor of English. Okay, fair enough. And you have participated in various webinars and seminars and conferences and workshops. You've presented papers. You've completed certificate courses. Fantastic presentation competitions. And you've talked about participating in research activities in research center. You've published papers. Fair enough. That's actually kudos. Well done. Now, again, like Shivam, I would say is that you need to visualize how is this different from what's there in your CV or resume already, right? So you will have to sort of now weave the storyline. You will have to make connections between how all this that you have done, right? Right now, it looks to me more like a bullet point approach, that you have individual sentences and all of them are well picked, by the way. So well done for that. But now what I want you to probably visualize is that you need to probably connect this, that how your chosen field of studies, English literature, and consequently your job as a professor, assistant professor of English, actually made you really interested in the field of English literature, and that interest led you to further sharpen your knowledge, and hone your perspectives, and that pushed you into participating into different seminars and conferences, and also conducting your research. All right, so cool, thank you so much. And I hope that I'm sorry for the lack of time, I wouldn't be able to read everybody's and give you a feedback, but I think you guys, looking at what you've created, you guys are on the right track. But just keep asking you this question about how is this different from what's there in my resume? Am I just stating facts? Am I restating facts? Or am I actually creating a storyline from the facts, right? So right now, what I see is you guys have bullets. You also have expanded the bullets into sentences. Now you need to connect them and connect them back to, your interest and motivation, etc. So tell a story. So yeah, fantastic, cool. I hope that, this exercise was little helpful in sort of getting you started. All right. So I have some examples of academic backgrounds here, which probably I'll read one and we'll move on, right? So for the lack of time, so one of it says, during my undergraduate studies in computer science, I was exposed to a wide range of programming language. So see, this might give you an idea of storytelling, right? So you guys have to sort of tell a story that this led me to this and that happened and therefore this happened, kind of an approach, right? So I was exposed to a wide range of programming languages, algorithms, and data structures. Through courseworks and projects, I developed a solid understanding of core computer science principles, gained practical experience in software development. Additionally, I had the opportunity to collaborate with a research group on a project that focused on applying machine learning techniques to natural language processing tasks. This experience not only honed my technical abilities, but also sparked my curiosity to delve deeper into the field of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, you may think what this underlining is all about. I'm just trying to sort of, in these sentences, underline and draw your attention to the keywords that we are building on, and rest of it is sort of connecting it into story, right? So we have undergraduate studies, we have computer science, we have university names, we have range of, exposed to wide range of, you have these technical terms here: programming languages, algorithms, and data structure. You have coursework and project, you have core computer science principles, you have software development, research, machine learning, language processing tasks, technical abilities, and artificial intelligence, right? So I'm sort of just underlined it for you to see what the writer is really sort of building on. So I'm going to skip example 2 and 3, and I will move on to, reading out to you another example. Let's say now we're moving from the paragraph about academics to talking about second paragraph, talking about our work, research, or volunteering experience, right? Again here, think about, go back, relating it to that slide of mine. What is it that you have done? What skill did you develop? How did that sort of lead you into wanting to do what you're doing? So let me read this out to you. My passion for computer science extends beyond the classroom. I have actively sought out internships to apply my skills in real world settings. Last summer, I interned at a leading software company where I worked on a team developing a cutting edge mobile application, right? And pay attention to the words that I've underlined. Interned at a leading software company, developing cutting edge mobile applications. So that's what you were doing, right? You were collaborating with a team that was developing a mobile application. This experience exposed me to agile development methodologies, collaborative problem solving, and the importance of user-centered design. It solidified my desire to contribute to the creation of innovative software solutions that positively impact people's lives, right? Bringing it all back to therefore, what is it that I want to do? So yes, I did this work. It sparked my interest, and now I want to be able to do this, right? So talking about your work or research or any volunteering work that you have, right? I'm going to skip these two examples, or maybe I'm going to read the third one out because this is slightly different. This talks about things, extracurriculars done during your high school, right? So during my high school years, I actively participated in curricular, extracurricular activities that nurtures my interest in business and leadership. I served as the president of entrepreneurship. I served as the president of Entrepreneurship Club, where I organized workshops and competitions to foster entrepreneurial spirit among my peers. Through this experience, I developed a keen understanding of the challenges faced by startups and the importance of strategic planning and effective decision making, right? So, when you write things like this, you're also showing to the person who's reading that you have analyzed, you have sort of critical thinking, you have analytical skills, that you you sort of analyze that, what is it that you understood and what is it that you learned when you organize these things. You understood that startups face challenge and how those challenges sort of can be minimized with strategic planning and effective decision making. Furthermore, I had the opportunity to intern at a local marketing agency where I assisted in developing marketing strategies for various clients. This exposure provided me with hands-on experience in the market research, branding, and social media management. Working closely with the team, I witnessed firsthand how effective business practices can drive growth and success, right? So this sort of paragraph talks about somebody's work that they did in the school and some other thing that they did, with in terms of work, and how, that sort of came together, and why this is now made them interested in sort of, business, programs, or, business and leadership, right? So, all right. And then, of course, one of the paragraphs has to be about your career goals. So now you have told a story about your academics, you've told a story about the work or anything else that you've done. Now you need to expand a little bit about your career goals, right? So you can say things like looking ahead, and, pay attention to these sort of words. These are connectors, or these are transition words that lead from one paragraph into the other, right? So looking ahead, my career goal is to become a research scientist specializing in artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm particularly interested in exploring intersection of machine learning and healthcare, right? So now you're bringing the industry also into perspective, where advanced algorithms can be used to improve diagnostics and treatment outcomes. The master's program at XYZ University perfectly aligns with my aspirations. Now you're starting to talk about how the university fits into this. So this is all about you, your passion, your interest. Great. Now, how does the university help you do that, right? Do you understand that? So you're saying, given its renowned faculty and cutting edge research in these areas, I'm particularly drawn to the work being done by Professor X. Yeah, and you can actually don't shy away from talking specifics. Sometimes these universities have very, very prominent departments or research centers, or, a particularly very well-known faculty. If you know about them, it aligns with you, please do mention. So I'm particularly drawn to the work done being by Professor X, whose research on deep learning for medical image analysis has inspired me, right? All right. So those were our body paragraphs, right? I will not read the other examples. I always like to have more than less, but depending on how much time. So I think now, you have your introductory paragraph, you know what to write there, what to include there. Now, how your body paragraphs should focus on what should they focus on. And then now, we have to have a very, very nicely written concluding paragraph, a short one, but a nice one, right? So you can conclude by summarizing everything really that you've been talking about in the previous paragraphs, bringing it all together, stringing it in 1 or 2 sentences. And again, emphasize once more on the chosen program, the university, and how it sort of connects with your future aspirations and how enthusiastic you are for this opportunity, right? Try to state your commitment, passion, restate it. And of course, don't forget to thank the admissions committee for reading your SOP or considering your application, right? So I'm going to just read one example to you. In this example, it also has a penultimate paragraph, which is linking why the university is the chosen university, for a certain person. So furthermore, the vibrant and collaborative research community at XYZ University excites me. The opportunity to collaborate with fellow students and engage in interdisciplinary projects will undoubtedly broaden my horizons and expose me to diverse perspectives. The resources and facilities provided by universities such as XYZ Research Center will further enhance my learning experience and provide an ideal environment to pursue my research interests. In conclusion, I am confident that pursuing master's degree in computer science at your university will not only enable me to deepen my knowledge and skills, but also provide me with necessary tools to make significant contributions to the field. I'm excited to be a part of the esteemed program and contribute to the research and innovation happening at XYZ University. Thank you for reviewing my application, right? So, yeah, that's how you probably create your concluding paragraph, right? So just to summarize what we talked about visualizing a sort of an outline and a template for your SOPs, which has introductory paragraph, and then it has 3 to 4 body paragraphs. One of the body paragraphs talks about your academics, one of it talks about your work or other kind of projects or extracurriculars that you would have done, and one of it talks about your career, and try to integrate how the university helps you achieve that, also showcasing your your knowledge of the university, right? And then it has a concluding paragraph. So that's what the structure is. Whenever you start doing it, right? I have some tips for you. Start brainstorming and jotting down ideas early, right? Don't wait till the last minute. We don't write very well in pressure, right? That's not how creativity works. Writing an SOP or an essay is a creative process. It takes time, right? So start well ahead of time. One very, very strong recommendation from my side. You may choose to take it or not, but please do not get someone else to write an SOP for you, because that doesn't reflect your authentic self, right? That's not, someone else can't really best describe your thoughts or perspective on who you are. So do it yourself. I know as much as you have the temptation to let some expert write it for you, please do not do that. Write it yourself. However, you can always get somebody to read it over and give you feedback, right? So they can always make cuts and notes and comments and remarks, and you can revise it and you sort of, edit it based on their feedback. But it has to be you. It has to be your thought. It has to be, what you want to say, not someone else, right? And as I said, it is a challenging process, and don't think it's easy for me or anyone else. Everybody finds it challenging, right? So when we have to write an SOP, we have to talk about ourselves, make a pitch. It's always challenging, but it can be made easy by using these tips that, you create an outline, this kind of a template, begin with bullet points, then develop the bullet points into full sentences, then connect the sentences with one another and connect it back to your application, right? Tell a story. Don't repeat what's on your resume, okay? Make inferences, as I said, I did this, that led me to this. Have that kind of an approach in mind, that how does X and Y sort of connect? And before writing, to any university, applying to any university, I think it'll be a great idea to sort of do your research and write down your top 3 reasons for applying to that program. Because if you know your top 3 reasons, it'll really reflect that, while you're writing your SOP, and especially the career goals paragraph, that how does the university really help you achieve those goals, right? So do your research, and everybody's reasons could be really different, and that's where the candidates are different from one another. And as I said, get your SOP peer read, seek feedback, your bosses, your mentors, your professors, your colleagues, anybody can look over, give them your feedback. And based on the feedback, you can always revise and edit it. Remember, you will have to write multiple drafts, right? Until you get the perfect final one. And that's the reason why this point connects to my first point: start early. Don't compromise, right? Write it, read it yourself, get others to read it, get feedback, make edits, right? And when you feel, yes, now it flows well, now it tells a story, then you're good to submit it, right? And as this point is very interesting. I like to tell my students, when you're writing an SOP, you have to show, not tell the reader about things about yourself, right? And showing means you're using specific examples, to support and illustrate your point. So if you say, I'm interested in computer science, give me an example of your interest. If you are interested in this field, what did you do about it, right? Did you take up a project? Did you take up an internship? Did you take extra credits? What did you do? How will I know that you're interested? Because, it's until you demonstrate or give me some specifics, I really don't know. I mean, how are you interested and what have you done about it? So always show, use specific examples, right? And remember, brevity is the soul of the wit, as they say. Conciseness is key. Don't sort of elaborate too much. Have your concise paragraphs, make them sort of really focused and crisp, and let them tell a story for you, right? So I think, yeah, I have come to the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, I will be happy to take. So one of you asked about doctorate programs. Yes, you have to write SOPs for doctorate programs as well. In fact, they are sort of fully blown essays, very, very sort of with larger word limits, to my understanding. Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're ready to take any questions if you have. I'm happy. Raisa, you want to take it from there? Clovius, Frida?
Yes, Dr. Kirti, thank you for the wonderful session. I hope the participants had a good time understanding how to create your own SOPs and make the most use of it. If you still have questions, I would request each one of you to write down your questions. We will get your answers by Monday for sure.
So
And in
John,
case of
yeah,
any,
John has a quick
yes,
question.
ma'am.
I think I can answer that.
Yes,
Does
please.
word count matter? Yes, John, it does, because when the university provides a word count, it is absolutely important that you stick to the word count, because then it shows the university people that you can express yourself within the specified word limit, right? So you have the ability, as I said, conciseness is the wit of the soul. If you have the ability to express yourself in the certain number of words that they want you to, you should follow it, right? So yeah, answer to it is yes. Please know the word count and follow it, right? You may have to revise it, edit it, cut few things short, make your sentences more concise, compromise on something, taking few things out, leaving more important things, but please follow the word count. It's absolutely important. I would say so. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Gunasinil, thank you so much. I'm glad you found it useful. That's a very smart question. I don't know what your name is, but the chat says Moto G31. I'd like to take that question. Yeah, it is okay to have sort of one essay that you have written, which is like your base draft, right? But every time you apply to a different university, you will have to certainly make edits in it, right? Specifically when you're talking about, let's say if you're applying for engineering programs to multiple universities, right? So of course, your own perspective in terms of what you want to highlight in your academic backgrounds, your work experience, your career goals will all remain the same. You may need to make minor edits depending on the word limit and the format, etc. But the section where you're talking about how that university helps you achieve, that section will need to be edited, right? So yes, you can have a base draft, but please always remember to make edits depending on the university and the highlights of the university, right? So every university will have a different reason why you're applying to them. So make sure you integrate that well. But yes, you can do that, right? All right, Jeff, thank you so much. Thanks, Tafiq. Abhishek has a question. Is it necessary to stick to SOP to one page? No, it's really not about the page. It's really about the word count. Just know what the university requires, right? And whatever that word count is, just stick to that word count, right? So yeah, I mean, if the word count is something that makes you run into 2 pages, then so be it. But just follow the instructions of the university, right? All right, should we write about that country, that why we are choosing that country? Deepak, yes, if you're an international student and you want to sort of emphasize the fact that you would like to study in, let's say, UK in a specific university or Canada in that particular university, you could talk about, let's say, for example, I know in UK for that matter, if you're applying to like they say, if you want to study law, you should study in UK, right? They are the world's most prestigious law programs in UK. So if there is a context for you, yes, please do that, right? But integrate the interest in the country along with interest in the program and the university. You see, don't just sort of try to only talk about the country. Why UK, and why that university and why that program. So try to string it in, Deepak, together, right? All right, thank you so much. Ivy says, does this format for writing only apply to you? Oh, no, it applies everywhere. As I said, those 3 categories that I told you, Ivy, I used examples of Canadian universities because I'm here, I work here, I talk to students who are applying to these universities. But as I said, broadly, those are the formats. In fact, the formats are twofold. Some universities will give you prompt questions and word limits, and you choose your prompt question and answer it. Some universities will give you sort of no prompt question, just say, write a supplemental essay and give you some word limit and use that's sort of a more free flowing structure, and you write it, yourself. So it's pretty much same, for any university. It's not specific only to Canada. But yes, I used examples from Canadian universities. I hope that answers questions. Martin says, let's say you have multidisciplinary certificates, you list all of them. Is it wise to do that? Martin, it depends, what is the relevance of highlighting those disciplinary certificates? Let's say if logistics and supply, I'm just taking an example on top of my head. If logistics and supply chain or operations management is the program that you're applying to, and you have certificates in that domain, but you also have certificates in other areas as well. Now, one thing is that how are you going to connect it back to the, like, how are you going to show the relevance of that, right? As long as you can show the relevance, as long as you can say that, you are, maybe if you're talking about the fact that you are a person who likes to learn and explore knowledge, and you're very inquisitive, and, and you like to explore the interconnectedness of the fields, that, of course, nothing is isolated in this world. Logistics and supply chain is connected to technology. It is connected to AI. It is also connected to, production and manufacturing and engineering and so many other things. So if I were you, and if I had those certifications, and if wanted to talk about it, I would bring that out in the context of the fact that I've always been very eager to explore the interconnectedness of disciplines and fields, and therefore I've tried to pursue certificate courses in this quest, and have understood that, these fields are interconnected, and then maybe, just say what interconnectedness you've understood in one line, and that should be good. Just be sure that it doesn't look like something that the writer doesn't understand. That if you're interested in logistics and supply chain, why have you been pursuing certificates in, let's say, I don't know, machine learning or artificial intelligence or any other thing? And, is it confusion, or is it what? Make it sound like it's deliberate, it is on point, and the reason for you to do it is that you feel that the fields are interconnected. And if you understand the interconnectedness, you understand the domain better, something like that. I hope that answers your question, Martin. All right, I think, Raisa, we'll have to close the session now. Yep.
Yes. Thank you for your time, Dr. Kirti. And participants whom you feel your questions have not been answered, please don't be disappointed. You can write to us and we shall get back to you.
All right, guys. So thank you so much. I
Thank you.
really appreciate you guys finding time and attending this session. And I hope there were takeaways. I hope this was useful. And remember, the fact that you are here, you attended this session, and you also did something in 5 minutes with me, which means to say you're sort of almost there. All right. Good luck, and I wish you all the best. Take care. And thank you for this opportunity, Raisa. I really appreciate. And I will take your leave now. All right. Bye-bye,
Thank you,
guys.
Dr. Kirti. Thanks for your time. The entire chat transcript can be downloaded.
Okay, I'm ending.